Hallelujah, hallelujah. Toda Rabbi Yahuwah, Toda Rabbi Father.
Have mercy.
We want to thank you, Father, so much for everything that you do for us every day. Toda Rabbi Father, for another prep day. Toda Rabbi Abba, for you are wonderful and worthy to be praised. Toda Rabbi, for another prep day, Father. For you are through and your mercy endure forever. For you are our strength, our song, and our salvation. You are Melech Ha-Olam, and there's no one like you. You are wonderful and worthy to be praised, and there's no one like you, Father. Blessings, glory, and honor be to your holy name. Blessings, glory, and honor be to your Kodesh name. Oh, Toda Rabbi, for another prep day, Adonai Yahusha. Toda Rabbi, Father, for everything that you do for us every day. Yahuwah, you are alone, are Yahuwah, and there's no other like you. O Most High, you are sovereign under your Yeretz, and there's no one like you. You are in control. You are sovereign under your Yeretz, Father. You are a sovereign Alua, and in you all things are made possible. Baruch atah Yahuwah Alua, Melech Ha-Olam. Baruch atah Yahuwah Alua, Melech Ha-Olam. Toda Rabbi for your Ruach, Toda Rabbi for your tender mercies are everlasting, Father. For your tender mercies are everlasting, Father. For you are wonderful and worthy to be praised, and we love you. Oh, Yahuwah, we cherish you and strengthen you, Father. For you are our strength, our song, and our salvation. Oh, there's no one like you, Father. For you are our everything, O Most High. For you alone are Yahuwah. You alone are Yahuwah, and there's no other, O Most High. And we ask you in the name of Yahusha that you baruch this discussion, Father. I pray in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach that you be in the midst of this discussion, that you be in the midst of the menorah, Father. Oh, Toda Rabbi, Abba, for the things you've been revealing to us, O Most High, and showing us every day, Father. You will give us eyes to see and ears to hear, Father, that we may hear, O Most High. Give us eyes to see and ears to hear, that we may reveal, that we may hear what you want to reveal to the assemblies, that we may hear what you want to reveal to the body, that we may hear what you want to reveal to the mishpachah, to your sons and daughters, Father, that we may be able to receive your words like seeds planted on fertile soil, that it may bring forth fruit, Father. Oh, Most High, that we may bear fruit in all seasons, Adonai Yahusha, that we may be your fruitful boughs, Father, moving forward, oh Most High, in the kingdom of the Shamayim, this Most High ascending and ascending and ascending, and Most High planting and being planted on the Yeretz. Oh, Father, I pray that you bless everyone who's listening in, Father, that you bless everyone, Father, in the name of Yahusha, who's called by your name, who's listening in, that they may, oh Yahusha, serve you on a higher level, have more understanding of your word, have more understanding of their purpose in you, Father. Be able to move forward in Ruach and in truth, Father, in a way that they never have been able to do before. Be able to flourish in you and flourish in your courts, O Most High, to be able to serve you with a whole heart and worship you in spirit and truth, to be able to walk in your ways and meditate on your statutes, to be able to move in your laws, Father, in a way that's pleasing in your sight, to be submitted, Father, submitted, O Most High, to your order, Father, submitted to your order, to be the people that call by your name and that dwell within your gates. Father, oh Father, oh Father, Baruch atah, Baruch atah, Baruch Hashem, Baruch atah, blessings and glory and honor to your name, Father. Oh, Most High, may these things come to fruition. Oh, Father, bless every word that's spoken, that it be your words, Yahusha, that it be your words, Father. Bless every comment, Father. Bless every comment, oh Most High. Oh, Father. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Amen. All right, shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom, Mishpachah, another prep day, hallelujah, hallelujah. Toda Yahusha for another prep day. Much shalom and ahab, everybody, hoping all is through, hoping all is well. I hope y'all are doing through as we're preparing for Shabbat. Oh yeah, it's a special time. It's a special time. We're moving into the transition from the dark season into the time of the day. So we're moving out of the dark season, y'all. The equinox will be in a few days. The equinox will be, I believe, on the 20th, which means, on the 20th, the equinox means basically we will go. So the dark season is when the dark is longer than the day, and night is longer than the day. But what happens is the equinox is when the day and night, dark and day are even. When the night and day are even, for those who don't understand that's the equinox. So that's coming here in a few more days. And then after that, you move into the time of the day. It's out of the dark season, because now the days kind of like have dominion over the night in a sense. The days are longer than the night, in other words, starting that after the equinox. So, and that's when you start going, in the day season, that's when all the feast days are. You know what I'm saying? That's when then you have Pesach coming. You have the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You have the Feast of First Fruits. You have Shavuot. You have Yom Teruah. You have Yom Kippur. You have Sukkot. You have all them feasts. They all during during the time of the day. All those feasts happen when the day is longer than the night, because we are children of the day. Because we are children of the day. All the feast days that are in the Torah are in the season of the day. You'll know when you're going into the dark season is when all the Torah, all the feast days are over. And that's when you know you're going into the dark season. So it's roughly about 6 months is the time of light, and roughly about 6 months is the time of darkness. So, that's always through watching the wildflowers bloom, watching vegetation sprout forth, watching the green pastures start to grow back, come back. The wildflowers out here, they had the blue bonnets, their sapphire blue bonnets. That's when that's how, at least so far over the years, that's how I can determine. I know when we're getting close to Pesach, because when you first start seeing blue bonnets, that's when you start getting, that's when you know you get in this part of the country in central Texas. That's when you know that the first day of the year would be the next new moon after you see the blue bonnets. That's at least how it's been so far, since I've been calculating it over the years. So I think that's pretty set. But there's different determining factors you can see, there's in different parts of the country, where there's, a lot of times he has signs in the heavens and the arets, so that you can calculate and see when around the time of when, you're supposed to guard his appointed times. So it's pretty through, just exciting times. But let's see who I see. Natanya Smith, shalom, shalom. Shiloh Saba Yahoo, shalom Barakot, shalom Barakot. Tabitha Kumi, shalom, 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 shalom. Raphael, shalom, shalom Barakot. Sharhonda Johnson, shalom and blessings, shalom Barakot to you. Ari Moshe Yisrael, shalom, shalom. Ahmad Tabitha Yahoo, shalom to you, shalom Barakot. Ima Oriya, shalom, shalom, what's going on? Shalom Barakot. Brew Cuts, shalom, shalom, shalom Barakot to you. Simka, shalom, shalom. Shout out to Daweed and Simka. Shalom Barakot, y'all. Shalom Barakot. Shamar Abad Yahoo. Shalom, Ak. Shalom, shalom. Shout out to Shamar and Shakar. Shalom, y'all. And Ima Yasha Yahoo. Shalom Barakot, Ima. Shalom and blessings to you. All praise to the Most High. So we're going to get right into it. So we're going to continue with through Ezekiel, or Yechezq'El. Something along those lines. I'm really get that pronunciation right. I'm gonna work on that. But let's get right into it, y'all. We're gonna go to Ezekiel chapter 17. Hallelujah. Ezekiel chapter 17. All right. Tony Green, shalom, shalom. Be'el, shalom. Shalom Barakot, y'all. All right. Let's see here, verse 1. And the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of man, pose a riddle and speak a parable to the house of Yisrael. Let me see something here, because that is interesting. Yeah, so a parable is mashal. A parable is actually mashal. It's a proverb, a parable. Could mean a proverb, a parable, a byword, etc., etc. Yeah, that's interesting, man. That is interesting. Yeah, so the reason why that's interesting, y'all, is because the word for parable is mashal. I'm gonna pull it up one more time. It's H4912. That's mashal. And then if you look, all I gotta do is go a couple of ones back, and you have mashal, which means to rule, to have dominion, to reign. It also is another word for like governor, ruler, things like that. And so what this is showing is that there's a relationship between a parable and dominion. There's a association between a parable and dominion, and it's interesting that Yahuwah had Ezekiel to pose a riddle and to speak a parable, because y'all know that Yahusha himself spoke in parables. This is something that Yahusha did. He spoke in parables all throughout the Brit Hadashah. We know that. Let's see here. Go to Matthew chapter 13. I'm going to start with verse 13. Oh, yeah, let me start with verse 10. Yeah. So verse 10, it says, and the disciples came and said to him, why do you speak to them in parables? So they're asking Yahusha, man, why you be speaking to them? Why you don't just tell them straight up why you speaking to them in parables? Now look what it says. He answered and said to them, because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of the Shamaim, but to them it has not been given. So this is showing that this is about a kingdom. This is about dominion. That's why the word for parables hebraically is mashal. It's mashal. The same word for governor or rule or dominion. They asked him, Yahusha, he was like, man, why? Why do you speak to them in parables? He answered and said to them, because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of the Shamaim, but to them it has not been given. So what this is showing is that in the parables are the mysteries of the Shamaim are veiled in these parables. He'll speak a parable, and those who don't have ears, they won't be able to hear it. It'll only be those who have ears to hear who will be able to receive it. And so he's letting them know, it's not been given to them. So I don't tell them straight about say it in parables. Verse 12, for whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken away from him. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. So it's like, yeah, I'm speaking to them this way because I'm speaking to them in a way that only those who have eyes will be able to see, and those who have ears will be able to hear. So in other words, he's speaking to them in a way that the people who don't need to know what it means ain't going to know what it means, in other words. For real. Let's keep going. And in them the prophecy of Yechezq'El is fulfilled, which says, hearing you will hear and shall not understand, and seeing you will see and not perceive, for the hearts of this people have grown dull. Their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their hearts and turn, so that I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For assuredly I say to you that many prophets and righteous men desired to see what you see and did not see it, and to hear what you hear and did not hear it. Then he goes into the parable of the sower, explains. So this was then the sower, the seed and the sower. And I was talked about this with the Mishpachah on this past Shabbat, that the parable of the seed and the sower was all about receiving a word. That's what it was all about. It was about a word, and it was about how different grounds was able to receive the word. So it boiled down to just being able to receive a word. That's what the parable of the seed and the sower was really about, as far as the root of it. No pun intended. But keeping all that in mind, this is showing you what the parable is about. And Yahuwah wanted Ezekiel to speak to them in parables. So now you see why. It's for a declaration to take place, and those who are not Yahuwah's will not understand it. They will misunderstand it. They will not hear it. They will take it the wrong way. They will misconstrue it. But those who have ears will receive it fully and be able to move forward. It's just like with the book of Revelation. Like the book of Revelation almost is so much symbolism in it. There's things in the scriptures where it's not for everybody. It's only certain people are going to understand it and going to be able to receive it and going to be able to discern it, what it's really saying, and how to be able to move forward accordingly. If you try to give the book of Revelation to somebody who don't know Yahuwah at all, who don't have no regards for the Most High, who in the world, try to give them the book of Revelation and watch how that works out for them. They ain't gonna understand none of it. How come you are in the truth, but the majority of our people are not? There are some mysteries that were unveiled that you were able to see that they weren't able to see. For some reason, you just had eyes to see. But that's the understanding of the parable. Let's keep going. Ezekiel 17. All right, verse 1, it says, and the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of man, pose a riddle and speak a parable to the house of Israel, and say, thus says Adon Alua, a great eagle with large wings and long pinions, full of feathers of various colors, came to Lebanon, and took from the cedar the highest branch. He cropped off its topmost young twig, and carried it to a land of trade. He set it in a city of merchants. So if you look at this, this is referring to so an eagle, that's a whole nother thing, but an eagle, it says a great eagle with large wings. That's referring to Babylon. We'll go ahead and just say it right now. So that's referring to Babylon. Y'all just remember the context where we're reading Ezekiel. Ezekiel right now is in captivity in Babylon by the river Cedar in that area, by the Tigris and Euphrates River. This is where Ezekiel is at, and this is where he is receiving this revelation from the Most High, this word. Right now, Jerusalem is still standing and has not been destroyed yet. The temple is still standing. It has not been destroyed yet. So right now the landscape is that Ezekiel is going against a lot of false words. Just to reiterate as a recap, Ezekiel is going against a lot of false prophets, a lot of false words, a lot of false hope, where the children of Israel are hoping that that Yahuwah will deliver them from the hands of Babylon and bring them back to Jerusalem. Because remember, Jerusalem is still a city. It still has the temple there. There's a king of the Yahudim who is still leading there, but they are under Babylonian rule. Babylon has occupied the land of Israel, but they have not destroyed it. They're still letting Judah be Judah, the Yahudim. They're still letting people worship at the temple, etc. But unfortunately, because of the the influence of Babylon, they're worshiping idols at the temple. They're worshiping the sun. These are things that we covered in the previous chapters. They're steeped in idolatry, steeped in wickedness and iniquity. Even up to the top, they're moving in with the children of the Yahudim are moving in great wickedness. And Yahuwah has been showing this to Ezekiel, but it's not as much as a common. It's not as common. Now, I don't believe this is common knowledge to the common folks. I don't believe that the majority of the Yahudim knew that the leadership, the priests, they were out there worshiping the sun at the temple. They were worshiping Tammuz, women weeping for Tammuz at the temple when they're supposed to be, crying out to Yahuwah. That they were out there moving in great abominations up to the top, up to the priesthood and everything. I believe that most likely the common folks thought that they were still out there serving Yahuwah. But Yahuwah has showed Ezekiel through revelation that no, they're doing the exact opposite. They're actually even moving in more iniquity. See, the hope was that the first and second attacks from Babylon would maybe have drove Israel into repentance. But what's happening is that that's not the case. That they're moving into even further iniquity than before. So this is what's resulting in Yahuwah making these declarations and these prophecies that it's not going to be all right. I'm not going to deliver them. A matter of fact, I'm going to destroy them. I'm going to allow Babylon to totally obliterate them. So this is the big prophecy that Ezekiel's been bringing out the last few chapters in different ways. He's been bringing out this message in different ways. Yahuwah had him act out like a scene one point in time. Yahuwah had him do different things throughout the scriptures to try to show them that, man, look, Jerusalem is going to fall. The temple will be destroyed. It's very interesting, y'all, because y'all know that Yahusha, when he came when he came on the Eretz, part of his thing was he was prophesying that the temple would be destroyed again. We're talking about right now in Ezekiel, this is Solomon's temple. This is the first temple. And we know that, if you know biblical, what happened with our people, our history, the Yahudim, is that we did eventually, and after this first temple, Solomon's temple was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, some years later, roughly 70 years later or so, there was a regathering of the Yahudim, regathering of Israel through the Assyrians. They allowed them to go back to Jerusalem, and you read that in Ezra and Nehemiah. You got Zechariah and Haggai were the prophets during that time, and they rebuilt the temple under the leadership of Zerubbabel, and that was the second temple. That's the second temple. So it was at this time during the second temple when Yahusha comes on the scene, some generations later, but it was during the time of the second temple. Some people call it the second temple period. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you want to call it. But Yahusha came towards the end of the second temple period, and basically was kept prophesying that the temple is going to be destroyed again. There was one time when he said there won't be one stone on top of another here. And there are other things where Yahusha would say little things when what he was doing, he was prophesying the destruction of Jerusalem again. But this one would be it happened in 70 AD for the second temple. And that was an even greater destruction, I submit, than what happened in Babylon, when Babylon destroyed it. But we'll focus on Babylon because that's the context of Ezekiel. But it's interesting that they both were doing a lot of similar things, so that might have been an aspect of why now Yahusha wants him to speak in parables. At first, he wanted him to act it out, to do some scenes, to set up siege ramps, to set up things. different things like that. There were some other things that Yahuwah had him do. Yahuwah also had him just to bring it out, just preach it, and now he wants him to speak to them in a parable. So this is a way Yahuwah right now through Ezekiel is battling false words. You have Yirmiyahu the prophet, who is doing the same thing. He's a contemporary of Ezekiel. He's doing the same thing, but Yirmiyahu is still in Jerusalem right now. With like I believe it's like King Zedekiah, I can't remember, or Jehoiakim, one of those kings, while they're under Babylonian rule. Let's keep going. So a great eagle with large wings and long pinions. Another thing you'll notice that Babylon more than once is mentioned as the eagle in the scriptures. It's interesting that the Western powers, a lot of their symbols are the eagle. You know that here, even this is modern Babylon in a sense. America is the national animal, I believe, is the bald eagle. I think they call it the national animal, or whatever they call it. But the big sign for America is the eagle. If you look at the sign for East Edom, ancient Edom, it was the eagle. So the eagle was something that the other nations would symbolize that as many times, especially Babylon. So if you go to Daniel 7, we'll go there real quick. Even in Daniel, when spoken of about Babylon, there's some, let's see here. The eagle was used. So it says, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head while on his bed. Then he wrote down the dreams, telling the main facts. Daniel spoke, saying, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of Shamayim were stirring up the great sea, and four great beasts came up from the sea, each different from the other. And here goes Babylon. Look, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. So as you see, Babylon, even in Daniel 7, was described using the eagle. At least part of the description of it was using the eagle. All right, so it says, full of feathers of various colors came to Lebanon and took from the cedar the highest branch. He cropped off its topmost young twig and carried it to a land of trade. He set it in a city of merchants. So as you see there, he said it in a city of merchants. As you see there, that's Babylon. That's the city of merchants is what is Babylon is described as, because it's a city of business. That's here. Here the businessmen, the corporations really run the country. It's a city of merchants, a city of businesses. You come here, you come to America. It's businesses in every corner, everywhere. And that's what makes the world go round. That's the foundation of Babylon is the merchants, is the businessmen. The corporations are really the leaders. They're the ones who really are the princes in a sense, like Tyre and Sidon. So he carried it to a land of trade. He set it in a city of merchants. Then he took some of the seed of the land and planted it in a fertile field. He placed it by abundant waters and set it like a willow tree, and it grew and became a spreading vine of low stature. Its branches turned toward him, but its roots were under it, so it became a vine, brought forth branches, and put forth shoots. So, as you know, what happened with Babylon is what they would do. This is what Nebuchadnezzar was doing, was the first two attacks that he did on Jerusalem. He took the best of the land, the princes of the land. Like it says here, then he took the seed of the land. So those were the children of the king, the seed of the king. Those were the nobility. So that would be like Daniel. That's why Daniel was taken in the first attack that happened on Jerusalem from Babylon. Daniel was swept up in that because he was of nobility. He was amongst the nobles. Him, when you read about, They called it they Babylonian. They gave them Babylonian names: Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I can't remember their Hebrew names right now, but you know, all of them were of nobility, and they were swept up in that first sweep by the Babylonians. So the strongest of the land were taken, the strongest of Jerusalem, the nobility, the heads, the Roshim were taken, and they were scattered over and spread out in the regions of Babylon, surrounding the Tigris and Euphrates, that region. And they did that to keep Jerusalem from being too strong, from trying to rise up and things like that, keeping them in a certain place. You know, they did that, and the Babylon here did that too in certain ways. So what Babylon would do here is there was a movement when Babylon was sending a lot of the free blacks, or America was sending a lot of the quote unquote blacks, free blacks, to a place in West Africa called what's the name of that country, man? It's a place in West Africa where they were sending all the freed slaves to. Liberia. Yeah, Liberia. If y'all never looked into Liberia, look into that. It's very interesting when you look at the history of Liberia. Liberia was basically a country that a lot of black, quote unquote, black Americans were sent to, and no, it's Liberia, and they actually flourished there for a long time. They flourished there for about 100 years, maybe longer than that, and was able to establish kind of a community there, establish a country there. But, you know, the catch was that they were supposed to be puppets for America in Africa. And so that's where things got messed up, because Liberia, the leaders of Liberia, you know, and these were, the leaders, the kings and everything, the presidents, they were, quote unquote, black Americans. You know what I'm saying? But what happened was that they started, doing things against U.S. interests. They started, like, for example, starting to talk to Russia more, starting to do things that didn't make the U.S. happy, basically. I guess the U.S. felt like they were not playing the game the way they were supposed to. And so, you know, the U.S. does like it does best, and destabilized Liberia by arming up, you know, some of the rebels there who didn't like the black Americans there. They didn't like the black Americans that were leaders. So there were like, what's the best way to word this? Native people that were there. That's the best way to word it right now, just so y'all understand what I'm saying. There were indigenous, like, Africans that were already there, who were there were some groups that were not happy with the black Americans who were basically running everything there. And the Americans of the U.S., when they got mad at Liberia, they basically armed them up and destabilized the country. They basically pinned them against, you know, the former black Americans who were settled there and flourishing there. I mean, it was for about 100 years. And then the U.S. basically did that, and it sparked a civil war, it sparked a coup, and it totally destabilized the country, y'all. Totally. And then y'all can look it up. You know, I think it wasn't that long ago, the civil wars in Liberia. Because even during, like, the civil rights movement, people was going out there. People were going out there and settling there and living there from America, because they knew that was a place where we were kind of, you know, we were doing all right out there, generally speaking. But yeah, it looks like the Liberian Civil War started in the 80s, in the late 80s, and ended in the 90s. So it wasn't that long ago. Then after the Civil War, Liberia actually started building back up. It started being able to build back up. Yeah, I believe on the color purple they was in like they would people they came from Liberia. I gotta look it up. I don't remember. But just to give context, back in those days, that's where people would go because we were doing all right out there. We were doing pretty through until the Civil War started. But after the Civil Wars, Liberia started rebuilding. And after some years, Liberia started rebuilding and started doing pretty well. Looked like they were about to do a rebound, and then what's that disease that hit? That plague that hit? Ebola. Ebola hit Liberia, y'all. Ebola hit Liberia. Let's see. This was not that long ago. The Ebola outbreak in Liberia was around 2013, y'all. 2014. Y'all, y'all just hear me out. I want y'all to kind of understand these patterns. Ebola hit Liberia Liberia was like ground zero for Ebola. Remember, Liberia was the place where we were moved to. A lot of the free slaves and stuff and the free blacks back during the slavery days moved to and ended up moving there and flourishing, built a country that was through. U.S. got mad at them because they were doing things outside of U.S. interests and destabilized the country in the 80s by sparking a civil war. They started rebuilding. They started doing well again, right? I'm talking about right when it looked like they were going to fully rebound. In 2014, a crazy plague called Ebola hit. And Liberia was like ground zero for Ebola. I know that y'all heard about Ebola because it spread everywhere. Eventually, there were even some cases in America. But if you can look it up anywhere, the ground zero for the Ebola outbreak was in Liberia. Can somebody put two and two together? Can somebody connect the dots? Yeah, that was man-made, and that was the U.S. trying to be like Yahuwah, because what Yahuwah does, he will judge a nation with plagues whenever they go against Yahuwah's interests. And that's the U.S. trying to be Yahuwah, trying to be like the Most High, and trying to cause plagues to happen on nations. They've been doing this for years. It's a very, very well-known old colonization tactic where the U.S. and the Western powers, one way that they will take over a nation and colonize it is by causing plagues to happen on a nation. Just look up what happened here, how they did the Native Americans. They would put smallpox on blankets and things like that. They would try to literally destroy people groups with plagues. What did Yahuwah do to Mitzrayim? What did Yahuwah do with Mitzrayim in the book of Shemot, in the book of Exodus? He destroyed Mitzrayim with plagues. Yahuwah was the first one to do that. They ain't come up with that on their own. They trying to be like Yahuwah. Why? Because they in covenant with Hasatan, and Hasatan done said it. We're gonna read it maybe a couple of weeks in Ezekiel 28. He said, I want to be like the Most High. Hasatan has a goal to try to be like the Most High. So when y'all see these things, don't find it different. Don't find it surprising. For real. Let's keep going. Then he took some of the seed of the land and planted it in a fertile field. He placed it by abundant waters and set it like a willow tree. And it grew and became a spreading vine of low stature. Its branches turned toward him, but its roots were under it. So it became a vine, brought forth branches and put forth shoots. But there was another great eagle with large wings. Okay, so you had Babylon, right? But now here's another eagle, y'all. So Babylon took the branch and planted it and things like that. Because remember what Babylon did is Babylon took the heads of Yehuda and took them and planted them in Babylon, and they were flourishing, just like it says. Just read about Daniel. Daniel was one of them who was taken from that first exile, and he got planted in Babylon, but he flourishing. Daniel or Daniel ended up becoming a leader in Babylon. He was like head president in Babylon because Yahuwah caused him to flourish. Verse 7, but there was another great eagle. So now there's another one with large wings and many feathers. So you notice this eagle wasn't many colors. You see this other eagle. Let me show y'all something here. The first eagle, it had long pinions full of feathers of various colors. What is that telling you? That Babylon is a melting pot full of all kind of nations. Babylon is of many colors, y'all. Could that have been what that meant when Yosef had a coat of many colors? Because Yosef was about the northern kingdom. When the northern kingdom, they ended up being mixed amongst the nations and blended amongst the heathen. Remember, the northern kingdom haven't even been regathered yet. Just food for thought. Let's keep going. So this other wing, this other eagle, it had many feathers, and behold, this vine bent its roots toward him and stretched its branches toward him. So this vine is now spreading its branches towards another eagle. This other eagle is Egypt, y'all. We're going to keep reading. This other eagle is Egypt, though. This is about Babylon and Egypt. Babylon and Egypt. Do y'all know the place where we live now? If you are in the States, is Babylon and Egypt. Babylon and Egypt. Look at this. Revelation 11:8. This is about the two witnesses. It says, these have the power to shut heaven so that no rain falls in the days of their prophecy. And they have power over waters to turn them to blood and to strike the earth with all plagues as often as they desire. That's the two witnesses. Now look at this. When they finish their testimony, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit will make war against them, overcome them, and kill them, and their dead bodies will lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where our master was crucified. So you got Sodom and Egypt right there. And then you had an understanding of Babylon and Egypt, which I believe is here. It's America. The Sodom and Egypt were referring to Jerusalem. That's referring to Jerusalem at that time. But Babylon and Egypt is a similar concept. So the Babylonian captivity, as you see, because we're reading about it here in Ezekiel, they were in captivity, but it wasn't what we would call in English chattel slavery. So they were able to own houses, build. Matter of fact, Yahuwah told them to do that. This is Jeremiah 29. Jeremiah 29, it says, look what it says here. Thus says Yahuwah Sabaoth, the Eluah of Israel, to all who were carried away captive, whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem to Babylon. Look what the commandment is, y'all. Build houses. So that means that they'll be able to have houses in this captivity, in Babylon. That's what Yahuwah's trying to tell them. Build houses and dwell in them. Plant gardens and eat their fruit. Like they'll even be able to have their own gardens. It wasn't like that in what we would call chattel slavery. You see what I'm saying? Look at this, verse 6. Take wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, so that they may bear sons and daughters, that you may be increased there and not diminished, and seek the shalom of the city, where I have caused you to be carried away captive, and pray to Yahuwah for it. For in its shalom you will have shalom. For thus says Yahuwah Sabaoth, the Eluah of Israel, do not let your prophets and your diviners who are in your midst deceive you, nor listen to your dreams, which you cause to be dreamed, for they prophesy falsely to you in my name. I have not sent them, says Yahuwah. So he's letting them know that you're supposed to go to Babylon and chill. Yahuwah's telling them, go to Babylon, build houses, get married, marry your sons and daughters off, relax. This is my doing. Don't listen to the false prophets who telling you otherwise, that, oh man, I'm going to deliver you from the Babylonians. Everything going to be all right. You need to rebel against the Babylonians, because if you rebel, Yahuwah's going to deliver them into your hand. You're like, don't listen to them. For thus says Yahuwah, after 70 years are completed at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my due word toward you and cause you to return to this place in 70 years, y'all. So Yahuwah let them know. Yeah, I'll return you one day, but not now. You're going to have to give it a couple generations. So, yeah, the point is that Babylon is like the American captivity, because this is Babylon. Now, the reason why this place is Babylon and Egypt is because Egypt was what we would call in English chattel slavery. I'm just using that term just because, I can't think of a better word for it right now. And I know y'all know what I'm talking about when I say that. It's a much harsher type of captivity where you're not able to just marry when you want to. You're not able to build houses. You're not able to own homes. You're not able to plant your own gardens. You'll plant garden for the slave master. And you might not eat of it. And things like that. That's what we would call chattel slavery. That was Egypt. That was Mitzrayim, and that was here in the beginning. That was here in what we call it in the States, in America. In the beginning, it was chattel slavery, and then the transition. The Civil War happened. Different things happened like that, and the transition over time from chattel slavery to what we would call the Babylonian type slavery, where you can have homes. You can work, you can even have, higher level jobs and stuff like Daniel had. But it's still captivity. Now, that's the big thing. A lot of people think we're not in captivity because they got a house. A lot of people will say, man, I'm not in no captivity, man. I got a house, a job, I got a car. You know what I'm saying? How y'all gonna say we in captivity? Man, we in captivity. Even Daniel knew he was in captivity, even though he had one of the highest positions you can possibly have in Babylon. He was petitioning the Most High for the people to be, for the return to happen. Read the prayer that he had in Daniel 9. He understood we were in captivity, even with that high position that he had. He probably was making a lot of money. He probably was through. But he was in captivity. Ezekiel had a house. He owned a home. But he was in captivity, y'all. Don't get it twisted. Know your place here. This is not our land. This is not our country. I know a lot of our people, no, this is my country. I'm American. How, Sway? How? When we ain't never been equal here. Ain't nothing ever been through here. When there's been so much stuff done to against our children, against our elders. The list goes on and on, but this your country. Everybody believe that except, only people that believe that is us. All the other nations like, no, y'all are not the same. They laughing. Now we are a nation. We're a nation within a nation. That's if you're his, though. That's if you're Yahuwah's, though. Because if you're not Yahuwah, you might be Babylonian. It might be in Ruach, you know what I'm saying? So, but nevertheless, let's keep going. So it became a vine, brought forth branches and put forth shoots, but there was another great eagle with large wings and many feathers. And behold, this vine bent its roots toward him. and stretched its branches toward him from the garden terrace where it had been planted, that he might water it. It was planted in through soil by many waters to bring forth branches, bear fruit, and become a majestic vine. All right. Okay, let me read verse 7 again. But there was another great eagle with large wings and many feathers. And behold, this vine bent its roots toward him and stretched its branches toward him. So what this is showing is that, so the vine is actually, that's like Yechezq'El. It's like, so Egypt came, and now the branches started depending on Mitzrayim, doing exactly what the Most High said not to do, and depending on Mitzrayim for sustenance for it. That's why it says it stretched its branches toward this other eagle, which is Egypt, from the garden terrace where it had been planted, that he might water it. Who? Egypt. So it basically, it's dependent on Egypt to cover them, to get them sustenance, to be there for them. And it was just a bad move because Yahuwah said not to do that. Don't turn to Egypt. It's not going to work. Don't turn to them. Don't trust them. They're not going to help you. But they went against the word and tried to go to Mitzrayim for help. Verse 8, it says, it was planted in through soil by many waters to bring forth branches, bear fruit, and become a majestic vine. So this is what Yahuwah was going to bless those who heard his word, who willingly went into captivity. If they just would have listened to Yahuwah and just, go. This is my doing. Submit to the Babylonians. Go build houses. Plant gardens. Marry your children off. Because I didn't read the rest of the scriptures, but if you read it in Jeremiah 29, that's where the famous scripture where he says, for I know the hopes that I have for you, hope to prosper you, and different things like that. Let me read it real quick because it's better than to try to paraphrase because it's important. Here we go. Take wives, beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, so that they may bear sons and daughters, that you may be increased there, see, and not diminished. And then it goes into seeking the shalom, and all those things. And then it says, after 70 years, you will cause them to return to this place. In verse 11, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says Yahuwah, thoughts of shalom and not evil, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and go and pray to me, and I will listen to you. And you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. I will be found by you, says Yahuwah, and I will bring you back from your captivity. I will gather you from all the nations and from all the places where I have driven you, says Yahuwah. And I will bring you to the place from which I caused you to be carried away captive. Because you have said, Yahuwah has raised up prophets for us in Babylon. Therefore, thus says Yahuwah concerning the king who sits on the throne of David, concerning all the people who dwell in the city, and concerning your brethren who have not gone out with you into captivity. And I'll stop there, because he said that's when he does it. He speaks a judgment on them. All right. It was planted in through soil by many waters to bring forth branches. So that goes back to Yirmiyahu 29, where Yahuwah was saying, submit to the Babylonians and do these things, that you will flourish there. Pray for the peace of the city that you're in, and, things like that. So verse 8, it was planted in through soil by many waters to bring forth branches, bear fruit, and become a majestic vine. Say, thus says Adon Alua, will it thrive? Will he not pull up its roots? Will who not pull up his roots? This is talking about now the first eagle, Babylon. Will he not pull up his roots? This is a parable. Will he not pull up his roots, cut off its fruit, and leave it to wither? All of its spring leaves will wither, and no great power or many people will be needed to pluck it up by its roots. Behold, it is planted. Will it thrive? Will it not utterly wither when the east wind touches it? It will wither in the garden terrace where it grew. Moreover, the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, say now to the rebellious house, do you not know what these things mean? Tell them, indeed. And now it goes in. Tell them, indeed, the king of Babylon went to Jerusalem and took its king and princes and led them with him to Babylon. So that's when, Daniel and all them went. Because that's what happened. And that's probably the case with Ezekiel and them too. During the second exile, they were probably some of the nobles. That's why they were taken. And so the king of Babylon, which was Nebuchadnezzar, went to Jerusalem and took its king and princes, talking about Jerusalem's kings and princes, and led them with him to Babylon. And he took the king's offspring, so he took the king's children, made a covenant with him, and put him under oath. So there was a king. Now this is interesting because this is what happens today too. Listen, he took the king's offspring. So I believe that was King Zedekiah. Let's see here. Yeah, because King Jehoiakim was the one who was taken, and the king's offspring was Zedekiah. And so basically Babylon made a covenant with Zedekiah and put him under oath. He put him under oath. He also took away the mighty of the land, that the kingdom might be brought low and not lift itself up, but that by keeping his covenant, it might stand. So basically, when keeping that in mind, there was a covenant that King Zedekiah made with Babylon. That's why he was able to still rule. That's why he was able to lead. That's why Jerusalem was able to stand, because Babylon set up a puppet leader who was Zedekiah to rule. Somebody that Babylon, that was, as long as they play the game, I'll let y'all rule. I'll let y'all do the temple, everything. I'll let y'all still exist as a people, as a nation. You just got to play the game. This is what America does through countries throughout the world. This is what the U.S. was trying to do with Liberia. That's why it was a big deal when there was a leader who rose up in Liberia who wasn't trying to play the game, who started going against U.S. interests. And they rebelled against the U.S. That was a huge deal. The U.S. does that everywhere. There's many countries around the world who the leader was set up by the U.S. They're in covenant with Babylon. So basically the leader at this time of Jerusalem was in covenant with Babylon. Get what I'm saying? For example, we can just name a couple of easy examples that we know of. Iraq. The U.S. did Operation Iraqi Freedom, and they totally toppled the government. They totally done that, and then they set up a leader there that was, I believe he's Iraqi, but he's in covenant with Babylon. He's in covenant with the U.S., so he's there to establish U.S. interests and to play the game. And you'll see that with all other countries across the world. We call them puppet leaders. This was done to us here in America as well. So I talked about this before with the Mishpachah. We had real leaders at one point in time. We were just talking about this. We had people like, I know there's some controversy about this, but Martin Luther King was a real leader. We wasn't in the truth back then. Malcolm X was a real leader. He was a leader that was actually real and raised up by us. He was for us and by us. He wasn't serving Yahuwah. I know, he was dealing with other Aluas. But as far as just saying a leader of the people, we know about the Black Panthers, Huey P. Newton. If y'all ever seen that movie about Judas, the Black Judas, something like that. I can't remember the name of it. But it's about a guy named Fred Hampton. He was a leader, a young leader from the Black Panthers, These were real leaders. These were real leaders for our people. They were not puppet leaders. They weren't. They had a heart for the people, and they was trying to lead the people. They didn't know Yahuwah at the time. They weren't keeping the law. They weren't keeping the commandments, and so, but, they were trying to do it based on what they knew at the time. And pretty much I believe everybody I named was killed by the government. Everybody, I think, yeah. Yeah, Fred Hampton, not Huey P. Newton, but he got pressed so hard that he fell off. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the list goes on and on. So that time was called the Civil Rights Movement, generally speaking. And that was a time when we still had like real leaders who really had a heart for the people. Do you see that anywhere anymore? No. Why is that? Where all the leaders go? Who had a heart to try to unify the people, who would give their life for the people, who would, who they really was for us, by us in a sense. The only leaders that are left are puppet leaders. So you have people like Jesse Jackson, you have they call him Reverend Al Sharpton. These are puppet leaders. These are people who are in covenant with Babylon. These are people who were put in that position by the U.S. to be the quote-unquote leader of the blacks. Ain't nobody set no Al Sharpton up to lead us. That ain't nothing like no Malcolm X. He was not for the people, by the people. He was for the U.S. interests and put in place, and here's your leader, that type of thing. Al Sharpton was a known informant. He was a government informant, but before he became the so-called leader, the civil rights leader, he was a government informant, FBI informant. That was he was a career informant. He probably was responsible for selling out many, quote unquote, Hebrews. I'll just say that. Selling out many people before he became, who we know of as Al Sharpton. I mean Al Sharpton. Why am I bringing all this up? There's many more. I'm just naming them because that's most people know who they are, but there's many more. Because that didn't happen until after all the real leaders were killed off or exiled. I know a couple of them made it to Africa, so they didn't get killed. But nevertheless, the point is that most of them were either killed or they had to lead a country. And it wasn't until after that, then these puppets were set up. You know what I'm saying? To just kind of, they're not trying to change nothing. They just kind of there to set to keep the status quo going, to kind of, be there to, they're like taskmasters in a sense. And so that's the same. I'm bringing that up just so you'll see patterns. So the same way that the U.S. topples governments, that they did, they first, what they do with nations that they hate, they'll first cause disarray in the country. I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for, man. They first just topple the government. They cause divisions in the country to cause it to be the country to be in disarray. They'll arm up they'll find some rebels they can arm with a whole bunch of high-tech machine guns so they can, do some sort of rebellion that'll cause a civil war. What's the word I'm looking for? Dismember. But basically, they'll but y'all know what I mean. They'll topple the government and cause the government to be unstable. It'll cause instability and instability in the government. Then, and so what happened with in America? So our people were, like dismantled. That's not the word I'm looking for, but it's okay. That's close enough. So the way they did it with our people in America is that they poured drugs into the neighborhoods. After they killed all the leaders, first you got to kill the leaders. Okay, so you take out all the leadership. You know, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all of them. They were all taken out young. Like most of them, if they weren't killed, they actually would still be alive today. Most likely, they would be in I think Martin Luther King might be in his 70s or 80s now, if I got it right. I think he'd be in his 80s now, so it's a possibility he would still be here today. But nevertheless, the point is that once the leaders were taken out, then you see a replacement with drugs poured into the neighborhoods. Then you see gangs rise up. And now, instead of a civil rights movement going on in the quote unquote black neighborhoods across the world, across the country, I mean, and Black Panthers sects and Black Panther buildings in sections across every major hood in America, that got replaced by now there's gangs in every hood in America. Gangs and drug industry. Okay, now you got the gangs in there. Now you got the drugs in there. Now let's arm the gangs. We never thought about that. How are these gangs, these gangs getting started? And they all of a sudden these people are walking around in these black, quote unquote, Hebrew or black neighborhoods with Russian machine guns, Russian weapons, high-tech, fully auto machine gun. Where you get that from when you ain't never destabilized? Thank you, Tony Green. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Destabilized. I don't know how I lost that word, y'all. Destabilize. Yes. Told our rabbi. But nevertheless, so now they're pouring weapons into the neighborhoods, y'all. Do y'all know that America is the #1 weapons distributor in the world? #1. The U.S. is the #1 provider of weapons, war machinery in the world. #1 exporter of weapons. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So how you think they not pouring them guns in these neighborhoods when they do it to destabilize countries? They do it all the time. They do it all the time. So if they want to destabilize Black America, what make you they specialists at doing this. Why do you think our neighborhoods got so destabilized? Oh, but it's our country, huh? But you American, yeah. Yeah, right. And so now you got gang warfare going on in every hood in America, y'all. How Bloods and Crips in every neighborhood in America? Bloods and Crips started in California. I'm in Texas, man. I remember growing up in the 90s, man. Bloods and Crips, they was all over where I was at. How, Sway? When they started, they was in California. How that spread like that? Now it's in New York. From the west to the east, you're going to see gangs. Destabilizing, trying to destabilize our people. And so now black on black, what they call black on black crime, would be on an all-time high. Shootings happening all the time in our communities. It feels like it's not just no shalom in certain areas. That did not happen just because we were bad people. That was a deliberate thing that happened on purpose to destabilize by the nations, to destabilize our neighborhoods because we were becoming too united. They did not want another civil rights movement to happen. They did not want another Martin Luther King to rise up, another Malcolm X. So they did what they had to do, or they did what they needed, what they felt like they needed to do to prevent that from ever happening again. And this is what Babylon, I'm bringing all this up because this is what Babylon during Ezekiel's time was basically doing or trying to do with the Yahudim back then. So nothing's new under the sun. They took all the leaders, they exiled them into Babylon, and then Jerusalem was just left like, common folks. And if you read the prophecies, it talks about now in Jerusalem's full of violence. Jerusalem's full of wickedness, full of innocent blood, things like that. So, man, like, what it sounds like is in Jerusalem, it was a high level, a high rate of quote unquote black on black crime and destabilization because Babylon went in there and destabilized the country. Nothing's new under the sun. Let's keep going. That the kingdom might be brought low. See, now let me read now. After I said that, now read this again. And he took verse 13, and he took the king's offspring, made a covenant with him, and put him under oath. He also took away the mighty of the land, that the kingdom might be brought low and not lift itself up. That's why they did all those things that to us here in America, so that we would be brought low and not be able to lift ourselves up. Y'all remember what happened in Black Wall Street? Everybody know about that by now, especially if you're in the truth. Shout out Rebirth OKC. That's in y'all backyard. Mushal Roach, he from there. He from Tulsa. Black Wall Street was destroyed because it was too much unity going on. That was too much. So it was about trying to destroy certain things to keep us from being able to lift ourselves up. And let's be honest. It looks like they plan worked. It looks like that they plan worked, but it didn't. Yahuwah was like, nope. It ain't over yet. But it does if you just really look at how things are now compared to how they were back then, look at, for example, our level of unity now compared to, let's say, the 50s, the 60s, or maybe they say even the 30s. Look at, let's say, how are our young men moving compared to our young men in the 30s and 40s and 50s. We were talking about this past Shabbat. Fred Hampton was like 20, 21, leading a whole movement. Can y'all imagine a 20, 21-year-old now leading a whole movement like Fred Hampton from the Black Panthers did? These guys was in their 20s, man. Maury Mandel was bringing out her. Budgie Carter, he was in his 20s. We can't imagine anyone like that now because there was a number done on our people to keep us from lifting ourselves up. That the kingdom might be brought low and not lift itself up, but that by keeping his covenant, it might stand. But he rebelled against him by sending his ambassadors to Egypt. So there was a covenant. So Zedekiah broke the covenant that he made with the Babylonians, where you were supposed to be a puppet for Babylon, and you were supposed to submit to Babylon. So you're supposed to just do what they tell you to do. You're supposed to be, but they broke the covenant with Babylon and tried and sent ambassadors to Mitzrayim, to Egypt. That was the second eagle, Egypt, that they might give him horses and many people. Will he prosper? Will he who does such things escape? Can he break a covenant and still be delivered? As I live, says Adon Alua, surely in the place where the king dwells, who made him king, whose oath he despised, and whose covenant he broke, with him in the midst of Babylon he shall die. Nor will Pharaoh with his mighty army and great company do anything in the war when they heap up a siege mound and build a wall to cut off many people. Since he despised the oath by breaking the covenant and in fact gave his hand and still did all these things, he shall not escape. Therefore that says Adon Alua, as I live, surely my oath which he despised and my covenant which he broke, I will recompense on his own head. So Yahuwah expected for him to actually withhold the covenant that was made with Babylon. No, submit to them. That was the word. And so since he broke the covenant, the Most High judged him for that. He basically was going against the Most High because really it was Yahuwah's doing that Babylon went there. Verse 20, I will spread my net over him, and he shall be taken in my snare. I will bring him to Babylon and try him. Therefore, the treason which he committed against me. I will bring him to Babylon and try him there for the treason which he committed against me. Verse 21, all his fugitives with all his troops shall fall by the sword, and those who remain shall be scattered to every wind. And you shall know that I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Verse 22, thus says Adon Alua, I will take also one of the highest branches of the high cedar and set it out. I will crop off from the topmost of its young twigs a tender one, and will plant it on a high and prominent mountain. On the mountain height of Yechezq'El I will plant it, and it will bring forth boughs and bear fruit and be a majestic cedar. Under it will dwell birds of every sort. In the shadow of its branches they will dwell, and all the trees of the field shall know that I, Yahuwah, have brought down the high tree and exalted the low tree, dried up the green tree, and made the dry tree flourish. I, Yahuwah, have spoken and have done it. So that's about, causing the dry tree to flourish. That's the connotation of the dry bones waking up. Because, when you look at a tree, the branches are like the bones of the tree in a sense. The branches, the twigs are like the bones of the tree. And so a dry tree being able to sprout up and the flourish is likened to the dry bones sprouting up and flourishing and waking up. And so, they just were going against a lot of commandments. Like, even with this, he said, verse 15, it said, but he rebelled against him by sending his ambassadors to Egypt that they might give him horses and many people. Will he prosper? That was totally against Torah. That goes back to Devarim 17. Trying to go to Egypt to get horses. Look at Devarim 17. Says, when you come to the land which Yahuwah your Elohim has given you and possess it and dwell in it, and say, I will set a king over me like all the nations that are around me, you shall surely set a king over you whom Yahuwah your Elohim chooses, one from among your brethren. You shall set a king over you. You may not set a foreigner over you who is not your brother. But look at this. But he shall not multiply horses for himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt to multiply horses. For Yahuwah has said to you, you shall not return that way again. This is in Torah. So Zedekiah directly went against Torah by doing that, by going to Egypt to get horses. He directly went against Torah. I just wanted to point that out. That's Devarim 17, verse 16. But he shall not multiply horses for himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt or to Mitzrayim to multiply horses. For Yahuwah has said to you, you shall not return that way again. And just, just to go back to Ezekiel 17 so you can see what I'm referring to, verse 15, it says, but he rebelled against him by sending his ambassadors to Egypt. He was sending people to Egypt that they might what? Give him horses. So he sent people to Egypt to multiply horses. He's going against direct commandments in the Torah. That's why the Most High is like, yeah, no, there's going to be there's consequences for that. Let's keep going. Also, I want to look at the word for riddle. It says, and Yahuwah came to me saying, Son of man, pose a riddle and speak a parable. So that word for riddle is it also can mean parable as well, so they're kind of similar. But riddle is H2420, and that's Haida or Hida. And it means a riddle, difficult question, or parable. So as you see, it can mean parable as well. And as you see, it says a riddle. Usually it's translated as a riddle. Dark sayings, hard questions, etc. A proverb. And so looking at that word, it's a Hida. That's a het, yod, dalet, hey. A het, yod, dalet, hey. And it's about the borders. It's about, let me do my thing. Laser pointer. It's about the borders of power, access, and revelation. It's borders of power, access, and revelation. That's what's associated with a riddle. A riddle is about a border, a separation, like a territory of power, access, and revelation. So when you're talking about riddles and parables, they're associated with the power, access, and revelation of Yahuwah. And so if you couldn't figure those things out, if you didn't know those things, then it just meant you weren't his, you weren't Yahuwah's. So it was a way to be able to distinguish and to separate those things associated with the power, access, and revelation of the Most High. You saw that with Shimshon. He would speak in riddles. He would speak riddles to people, and then he would just kibosh them. Because he had he was the one with the power, the access, and revelation. He would speak a riddle, speaking parables in a sense. So, all right, let's keep going. The word of Yahuwah came to me again, chapter 18, verse 1. The word of Yahuwah came to me again, saying, what do you mean when you use this proverb concerning the land of Yisrael? Oh, another thing. When you look at the word riddle, you see het yod, that's chai, that's life. Het yod, that's the word for life, chai. And then you have the dalet hey. So dalet hey, I'm gonna have to look more into that. But let's see here. Let's see. Dalet hey. I said it to myself. Yeah, I can't remember where I put those notes. But the dollar hay is about, having access to revelation. But it's interesting that you have the word for life in that word Hida as well. So that's just something to think about. Because it's in Yahusha that you have life. It's in his revelation. It's in his word. It's in his power that you have life. You know what I'm saying? So hold on 1 second here. Let me see something. All right. Verse 2, what do you mean when you use this proverb concerning the land of Yechezq'El, saying, the fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge? As I live, says Adonai, you shall no longer use this proverb in Yechezq'El. Behold, all souls are mine. The soul of the Father, as well as the soul of the Son, is mine. The soul who sins shall die, but if a man is just and does what is lawful and right, if he has not eaten on the mountains, nor lifted up his eyes to the idols of the house of Yechezq'El, nor defiled his neighbor's wife, nor approached a woman during her impurity. That's deep. That's deep. That's probably one of the only Torahs that's mentioned in the scriptures against only Torah as far as what you cannot do in the marriage bed is lay with a woman while she's at that time of the month. That's very, very interesting that that's mentioned here. So it says, if he has not eaten on the mountains, he's talking about, the high places where people worshiping other allures. If he has not eaten on the mountains, nor lifted up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, nor defiled his neighbor's wife, nor approached a woman during her impurity. If he has not oppressed anyone, but has restored to the debtor his pledge, has robbed no one by violence, but has given his bread to the hungry, and covered the naked with clothing. If he has not exacted usury, nor taken any increase, but has withdrawn his hand from iniquity, and executed true judgment between man and man, if he has walked in my statutes and kept my judgments faithfully, he is just. Very simple. Justified by through your righteousness. He shall surely live, says your Adonai. These are simple things that like messages that Yahuwah wants to drive home to the Yahudim that, man, look, if you do what's right, you will be through. All you got to do is do the right things, keep the commandments, move in righteousness. Don't oppress your people. Be faithful to me. That person is just, he surely will live. If he begets a son who is a robber or a shedder of blood, who does any of these things and does none of those duties, but has eaten on the mountains or defiled his neighbor's wife, if he has oppressed the poor and needy, robbed by violence, nor restored the pledge, lifted his eyes to the idols, or committed abomination, if he has exacted usury or taken increase, shall he then live? He shall not live. If he has done any of these abominations, he shall surely die. His blood shall be upon him. So even if a man is righteous, if his son is wicked, the man who was righteous shall live, but if the son is moving in wickedness and doing the opposite, he's not going to be able to be saved through the righteousness of his father. That's basically what's being brought home here. And I really submit that why is Yahuwah having to bring this message out through Ezekiel? I submit that there may be, it's kind of what I was talking about, it's something similar that the Pharisees were falling into. They had this idea that they were automatically just in because they were the children of Israel. Hey, man, our forefather is Abraham, so we're saved. We're through. Our forefathers is Yaakov. And Yahuwah's trying to say, no, you're not through. Based off of because your fathers were righteous. No, if you're moving in wickedness, you will surely die. You're not going to be through. But if you're moving in righteousness, you will surely live. If you're righteous, but then your son's moving in wickedness, he will not make it. Like you're not going to be saved based off of what your fathers did. You're not. You got to serve Yahuwah yourself. Let's keep going. If, however, he begets a son who sees all the sins which his father has done, and considers but does not do likewise, who has not eaten on the mountains, nor lifted his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, nor defiled his neighbor's wife, has not oppressed anyone, nor withheld a pledge, nor robbed by violence, but has given his bread to the hungry, and covered the naked with clothing, who has withdrawn his hand from the poor, and not received usury or increase, but has executed my judgments and walked in my statutes, he shall not die for the iniquity of his father. He shall surely live. As for his father, because he cruelly oppressed, robbed his brother by violence, and did what is not due among his people, behold, he shall die for his iniquity. So yeah, the father is not going to be able to make it based off of the righteousness of the son, or vice versa. It don't work like that. Verse 19. Yeah, you say, why should the son not bear the guilt of the father? Because the son has done what was lawful and right, and has kept all my statutes and observed them. He shall surely live. Now we're talking about righteous judgments. Y'all know there's certain countries right now that I believe North Korea is like that, where if let's say someone is caught in treason in North Korea, they'll lock up the person, but then they will also lock up their family members, to my understanding. Maybe even distant family members too. This is in a courtroom situation. The mother cannot, the son cannot be judged based off of the sins of the father. You see what I'm saying? Like, the father, if he's wicked, the sins be up on his own head. The son is moving in righteousness. He won't be penalized based on what his father did. That's more of a courtroom situation when dealing with matters to judge. Now, we know that in the scriptures, Yahuwah will visit the iniquities of the fathers to the second and third and fourth generation, I believe. Something like that. This is not referring to generational curses. This is not contradicting that at all. There's these two different things. That's what I'm trying to show y'all. Now, there are generational curses. Like if you sin, certain things that you can commit as far as iniquity that will pass down to your children. And we all seen that. You know, you have the dude who dealt with alcoholism. His dad was an alcoholic. You know, maybe granddad was an alcoholic. You see these types of things. You have one guy who dealt with perversion. His dad was dealt with perversion. His granddad. You know, there's certain sins that do pass down. That's not what this is talking about. This is talking about like the North Korea situation example that I used. If they're going before the biblical court, someone commits adultery, the judgment according to Torah would be put to death, him and whoever he committed adultery with, be stoned with stones until they die. That wouldn't affect if he had the sons. If the sons are moving it right, that had nothing to do with them. You can't penalize basically. Or let's say someone committed murder. Let's say someone killed somebody. You know, according to Torah, if it's of most instances, the judgment would be they would be put to death if they kill somebody. You cannot penalize their children for that. You cannot penalize their children for that. But there are countries today, and you know, amongst the heathen, who, oh yeah, if somebody did something like that, they'll lock up the children. They'll lock, you know. If he has cousins or anything like that, you know, they'll lock them up too. So that's what this was going against, because that was just some of the ways of the nations, and it still is in some nations today. So that's why it says, yet you say, why should the son not bear the guilt of the father? Because the son has done what is lawful and right, and has kept all my statutes and observed them. He shall surely live. The soul who sins shall die. The son shall not bear the guilt of the father, nor the father bear the guilt of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon himself, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon himself. But if a wicked man turns from all his sins, which he has committed, keeps all my statutes, and does what is lawful and right, he shall surely live, he shall not die. None of the transgressions which he has committed shall be remembered against him, because of the righteousness. None of the transgressions which he has committed shall be remembered against him, because of the righteousness which he has done. He shall live. Do I have any pleasure at all that the wicked should die, says Adon Alua, and not that he should turn from his ways and live? But when a righteous man turns away from his righteousness and commits iniquity, and does according to all the abominations that the wicked man does, shall he live? All the righteousness which he has done shall not be remembered, because of the unfaithfulness of which he is guilty, and the sin which he has committed. Because of them he shall die. This is so real. Like, we all know this, that look, there's certain iniquities that you commit that it don't matter if you've been doing all kind of righteous works for decades. You can mess all of that up by one iniquity, by one sin, one major sin. If you start moving in iniquity and sin, all the stuff, the righteous stuff you done before that will not be remembered. This is what this is talking about. Because again, why is Yahuwah bringing these words out with Ezekiel? It's probably because there were people really trying to make these points. I know, because people be trying to make these points today. They'll do a major iniquity. They'll do something really crazy, and then they'll be like, "But I did a lot of good. What about all that good stuff that I done before?" That don't matter no more. You messed all that up. Oh man, especially when you see leaders get caught doing something crazy. You see leaders get caught doing something wild, and they'll try to point to whatever the good deeds that they did in the past, and it don't be mattering. Hey, I helped, single mothers with their rent several times. I've done this, I've done that. Man, look, that's through, but you messed all of that up. You messed all of that up through your rebellion. All that don't matter no more. But then on the positive side, and I think many of us had this story. I know I did, and many others do, is that, you might have had a lot of things that you've done in the past, a lot of things that you have done wrong in the past, but you turned from those things and moved forward in Yahuwah and Yahusha and kept his law, statutes, and commandments and moving in righteousness. And if you do that in a pure heart and ruach and in truth, then all those things that you had done in the past will be erased. They'll be forgotten, in a sense. You'll be forgiven. You'll be covered. So that's the Thub news with that. But Yahuwah probably had Ezekiel bring that out because a lot of people were probably getting caught doing all kind of wickedness, worshiping idols, worshiping other allures, committing abominations, oppressing the people. And then when they get caught and Yahuwah's judging them over those things, they're trying to defend themselves, point to any good works that they might have done in the past. And I'm telling y'all, you can try, but it don't work because you mess all of that up by going against the Most High. Let's keep going. Just a quick example. You saw that with King Saul. With King Saul, a lot of people don't remember at all that he actually was very righteous in the beginning, that he was a prophet. He prophesied, that he did a lot of Thub things in the beginning, that he actually was a great leader of war, for a great leader for Israel as far as conquering the enemies of Yechezq'El many different times, many different aspects. This is just one example with King Saul. A lot of people don't even, when they mention King Saul, it's about how wicked he was, the way he moved towards Dawid, when he moved in jealousy and envy and wickedness, when he killed all those priests, when he done all that wickedness. That's what we really remember Saul for, not for the Thub that he did in the beginning. It was many years of Thub works that he did in the beginning, like many years. Another example is Judas. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. We ain't think about it. I don't nobody think about anything good that Judas did. But did y'all know that Judas was with the apostles healing people? That he was likely with the apostles healing people, doing deliverances. All that, y'all. All of that. Doing all of that. Proclaiming the Besor across the promised land for multiple years, for at least 2 to 3 years. But because of his betrayal of Yahusha, don't nobody remember nothing Thub about Judas. Who does? Because what you did, you messed up all your Thub works. Most people's mind don't even go there to even think that Judas did anything. Well, he actually did. Come on now. How would he have been able to be with the apostles that long? He was with them for 2 to 3 years. That's not no short amount of time. How you was able to dwell with them that long if you wasn't doing no thub? Around Yahusha that long and you wasn't doing no thub? But that betrayal trumped all that. That betrayal trumped all that. He made a covenant with Babylon in a sense, well, with the Pharisees, but you know, they were joining the Rome, so it was like making a covenant with Babylon. Y'all got to understand this, Israel. Y'all got to understand this, Yechezq'El, because for some reason, I think that's a blind spot for us. We think somehow we can commit a major iniquity, and because we did something good in the past, that can cover it. No. And this passage here is proving that. It's straight in the scriptures from the prophets. The unfaithfulness of which he is guilty and the sin which he has committed, because of them he shall die. Yet you say the way of Yahuwah is not fair, or the way of Adonai is not fair. Hear now, O house of Israel, is it not my way which is fair, and your ways which are not fair? When a righteous man turns away from his righteousness, commits iniquity, and dies in it, it is because of the iniquity which he has done that he dies. Again, when a wicked man turns away from the wickedness which he committed and does what is lawful and right, he preserves himself alive, because he considers and turns away from all the transgressions which he committed. He shall surely live, he shall not die, because he considers and turns away from all the transgressions which he committed. He shall live surely, and he shall not die. Verse 29, yet the house of Israel says, the way of Adonai is not fair, O house of Israel. It is not my ways which are fair, and your ways which are not. Is it not my ways which are fair, and your ways which are not fair? Therefore I will judge you. See, this is crazy, because a lot of people have had this in their heart, like they think Yahuwah is unjust. They think Yahuwah is not fair. Like for real. Verse 30, therefore I will judge you, O house of Israel, everyone according to his ways, says Adon Alua. Repent and turn from all your transgressions, so that iniquity will not be your ruin. Because Yahuwah, he's pleading with the people. He don't want them to perish. Yet when Yahuwah sends the prophets to tell you about yourself and to tell you to repent, that's out of grace. That's out of his kin. That's out of his hesed. That's grace. Verse 31, cast away from you all the transgressions which you have committed, and get yourselves a new heart and a new spirit. For why should you die, O house of Israel? For I have no pleasure in the death of one who dies, says Adon Alua. Therefore turn and live. He's pleading with them. It is not pleasure Yahuwah to destroy his children, to have to judge his people. He would rather you turn, repent, and live. All right, we're wrapping up the last one. Moreover, chapter 19, verse 1. Moreover, take up a lamentation for the princes of Israel. So this is for the princes of Israel. That word prince, I wonder, is that Nasi? Yeah, for the princes Nasi of Israel. And say, what is your mother? A lioness? What is your mother? A lioness. She lay down among the lions. Among the young lions, she nourished her cubs. So this is another parable. This is another parable. She brought up one of her cubs, and he became a young lion. He learned to catch prey, and he devoured men. The nations also heard of him. He was trapped in their pit, and they brought him with chains to the land of Mitzrayim. So, you know, this is referring to one of the kings. When she saw that she waited, that her hope was lost, she took another of her cubs and made him a young lion. He roved among the lions and became a young lion. He learned to catch prey. He devoured men. He knew their desolate places and laid waste their cities. The land with its fullness was desolated by the noise of his roaring. Then the nations set against him from the provinces on every side and spread their net over him. He was trapped in their pit. They put him in a cage with chains and brought him to the king of Babylon. So as you see, this is probably referring to that second exile, which Ezekiel was a part of. They put him in a cage with chains and brought him to the king of Babylon. They brought him in nets that his voice should no longer be heard on the mountains of Israel. Your mother was like a vine in your bloodline, planted by, see, it says likeness, in your bloodline, planted by the waters, fruitful and full of branches because of many waters. She had strong branches. So okay, this is probably this is actually going back over kind of what this parable in chapter 17 was about as well. So this is about King Zedekiah going to Mitzrayim and the judgment that's going to happen to him for trying to go to Mitzrayim when he was supposed to just submit to Babylon according to the word of Yahuwah. So this is what this is about. So it's about, this parable is about exactly what the parable in chapter 17 was about. They parallel each other. So verse 11, she had strong branches. That's why this is referring to branches again, and a vine and different things like that. She had strong branches for scepters of rulers. She towered in stature above the thick branches and was seen in her height amid the dense foliage. But she was plucked up in fury. She was cast down to the ground, and the east wind dried her fruit. Her strong branches were broken and withered. So this was a nation from the east. That was Babylon. Her strong branches were broken and withered. The fire consumed them, and now she is planted in the wilderness, in a dry and thirsty land. Fire has come out from a rod of her branches and devoured her fruit, so that she has no strong branch, a scepter for ruling. So as you see, the leaders, the princes, they were carried away. So the land it's not, they're not, the people of the land, they're not going to be able to come up. They're not going to be able to lift themselves up. They have no strong branch. They don't have no rulers there. No, the leadership is gone, been cut down. Goes back to what I was saying, what Babylon does here. Verse 14, fire has come out from a rod of her branches and devoured her fruit, so that she has no strong branch, a scepter for ruling. This is a lamentation. It has become a lamentation, man. So this is just basically going even more in depth regarding chapter 17, that the kings are done. Like Yehuda will be judged. Things will not be through, and that's what's coming. It's going against the false words. He's also going, like, Yahuwah hears all the complaints of the people. People were saying Yahuwah's not fair, different things like that. And that may have something to do with King Zedekiah being judged. It's like, man, his forefathers are righteous, but he's not. He's not. So the son will not be able to make it based off of the righteousness of their father, or vice versa. That's just very important concepts. Like, people, I think really a big part of it was that the common folks didn't know the level of iniquities that was going on in Jerusalem, that the kings were involved in. And so Yahuwah had Ezekiel to bring out a lot of the stuff. Yahuwah was revealing a lot of the stuff to Ezekiel. He was speaking in parables so that those who didn't have ears would not hear it. But there were probably some who had ears, they could receive it. Like, man, look, they over there wilding, and Yahuwah's mad at them. It ain't going to be all through. So there's just some things to think about. Let me see what y'all got. Tabitha Kumi says Sierra Leone. No, I was referring to Liberia. Liberia, yeah. So it was man, who's that leader who was big on Liberia? He was from Jamaica. Yeah, he was in Harlem. What was his name, man? I can't think of his name right now, but I was trying to see if I can find it. But I know he was big on trying to get, trying to unify Africa and trying to get people to go to Liberia. I don't think it worked out. But nevertheless, yeah, I was referring to Liberia. Tony Green said Ecolab was a USA hit on us. Oh, you mean Ebola? Yeah, especially all those in Liberia. Especially those in Liberia. Tony Green said Esau hit on Yaakov. I don't think Esau hit Yaakov, did he? I believe they ended up making peace. I don't think Esau was able to actually have any physical contact with him. He wanted to at one point in time. But yeah. Help me understand the context of that because I don't remember. Maybe I'm misunderstanding you there, Tony. Alicia Scott said, there's a lady in my training group with your same name, referring to Tashana. I really don't see the same spelling that often. You weren't training earlier today, were you? Look, it's a small world. It'd be like that sometimes. We might know each other, huh? Cody Wansina said, that then Yahuwah thy Alua will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither Yahuwah thy Alua had scattered thee. Hallelujah. Devarim 33. Tony Green said, the search of yourself is the healing of the nation of Yasharel. Khan, quoting Malek. Yes. That's it, man. That's it. Cody Wansina said, Khan, Philadelphia when I was growing up. Man, man, you from Philly? Man, Philadelphia been all over the news. It's still pretty crazy, but yeah, I remember there was something that happened, and I believe that was in west part of Philly where there was they dropped a bomb on some people over there that were trying to do some things. I'm not too familiar. Oh, Garvey, thank you, Simeon. Man, told her about you right on it. Yeah, Garvey. Yeah. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's it. Marcus Garvey. Tony Green said media warfare. Yeah, that's real. Yeah, that media, man, look, that's real. Ivan Yawan Little said even Alabama. Okay, I don't remember the context on what you said even Alabama about. I'm trying to remember. Maybe, oh, okay, yeah. You're referring to how the gangs and the dismantling the neighborhoods and the drugs and absolutely Alabama. Oh yeah, that was a big part of the civil rights movement was based out of was going that area, Alabama, Georgia and things like that. So yeah, man, that's real. Emi Yashayahu said there will never be another black Messiah unless we create him. J. Edgar Hoover. Yeah, that's it. You right on it. That's exactly what he said, or something along those lines. And J. Edgar Hoover was he was like the FBI head during the days of like Martin Luther King and stuff like that. So just so y'all know what Emi Yasha referring to. Cody Selah said Shlomo and even that young prophet. In order for Yahuwah to send a young prophet to be sent, he had to have been doing through. And now we don't even know his name, but we know he fell in disobedience. Shlomo and even that young prophet. In order for Yahuwah to send a young prophet to be sent, he had to have been doing through. Oh, yeah, you talking about that young prophet back in, it was one of the kings or something like that, yeah. Khan. And was buried with the wicked, Khan, man. Tony Green said, no, talking about the bio-warfare from Western nations. Esau to African nations, Yaakov. Khan, gotcha, okay. Gotcha. That's it. Oximian said, Maury, the Father has drawn the Tav on this country with the 2017 eclipse and the one that's coming. Have you chewed on that? I would love to hear your teaching on it. Oh, yeah. I haven't done a teaching about it, but yeah, it's been brought to my, I was familiar with it. I remember the eclipse in 2017. I thought it was earlier than that. I got to look into it. But I don't know, Erica Yechezq'El, she had sent some real interesting stuff on that, man. Real interesting stuff on that. And it's one of those things to where, man, it's a sign. Yahuwah, he'll give you the signs if you have eyes to see. So, this actual eclipse is happening right on Pesach, so that's not, that's huge. Right on Pesach, y'all. On Pesach, it'll be a full-blown solar eclipse. But yeah, I haven't done a teaching on it, but yeah, you might be on, so I might need to look more into it as we're gearing up for Pesach. That might be a thub idea, because it's the Alephanta Tav. But yeah, man, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Oximian. Man, look, listen, when Yahuwah starts showing the signs in the heavens like that, you got to pay attention to that. You got to pay attention to this, man. Salvation is here. Redemption is here. So we got to really do our best to hold close to the covenant, continue to serve Yahuwah, move in righteousness, and guard his commandments. It's important for us to not play around in these days. Man, it's the last days. Cody said, I said there was an annular eclipse last year, October 14th, which was carried the ring of fire. Yeah, I know we were, that was during Sukkot, yeah. That was during Sukkot. We was keeping Sukkot. I remember us being outside and looking at it. So yeah, I remember that. But yeah, all praise to Yahuwah, y'all. Told out to Yahuwah and Yahusha. Much ahavah. Y'all have a thub Shabbat tomorrow. Most High willing. We will do this again. I believe we will do this again next week. Most High willing. But y'all can always, if y'all have any further questions or anything, y'all can always email me, rebirthatx@gmail.com. rebirthatx@gmail.com. Lakan la shalom, y'all. Much ahavah.
He knows you're trudging through these great.
Lakan la shalom.
Wilderness. These 40 years, Yahuwah, your Eluah, has been with you. You have lacked